Project number 2, the disc harrow. This one looks a little bit more complicated. Sure is heavy. So 49 minutes to put this bad boy together. There is nothing tricky at all about it. Really straightforward. Alright, sorry, wanted to turn the music off. I would say it's almost actually easier in some regards than some of the other stuff I put together, like the cultivator, because you can use your drill in certain spots. Everything's heavy. It's kind of what you wanted, right? Clearly it's not as going to be heavy duty as a tractor or something. Freaking dogs. Figures, right? Not my dogs. Let's see, tips and tricks. I mean, I don't really have any for you. Everything really assembles pretty easily. The instructions are very straightforward. It's just plates and then these little spacers on both sides. You do need to use a socket and ratchet to get in here. You can't get a drill in there. Thankfully though, these are like a hex, I don't know what you call them, but you don't need a wrench on the other end. Those put together pretty easy. That's probably the thing that takes the longest. The real nice thing is the U-bolts at the top here. You can get a drill in here, unlike the cultivator, so that just took a matter of seconds. I'm going to tighten them up by hand. Oh, these end nuts say 200 foot-pounds. I have a 150-pound half-inch. I mean, this is a heavy duty. Got it for my Christmas gift, professional grade. It's a 1 1/4 inch socket, and I couldn't even get it to click. You can't brace it against anything. I feel okay about it. I'll probably check and make sure after I'm getting some use out of it. Everything else is either 3/4 or 19 millimeter. Yeah, and it's pretty easy. Once you get that on, you can sort of rest this bar on top, even the accessory bar. For anybody thinking you want to maybe save a couple $100 and just have one accessory bar and change them in and out, oh my god, I'm gonna freaking shoot a dog in the head, I think. Highly recommend spending that $120 because none of these things attach very easy. You can absolutely undo them and slide them on and off, but you're going to spend time, and chances are you're using multiple utilities in the same day. The 120 something bucks from Amazon for these right now is worth every single penny. So I think that's the only advice there. You know, almost an hour with a little bit of breaks in between because your back starts hurting and stuff. Don't need any help to put this one together. No partners needed. Doesn't add any advantages. But anyhow, next video will be putting the bad boy to use, and fingers crossed it works out well. But can confirm too, right? This is a kolpin bar, and it's a black bore implement. So these 2-inch accessory bars and kolpin implements are pretty interchangeable, probably for both ways. So. All right, YouTube, moment of truth. So today is the day we are gonna disc. This has honestly been the thing that I have been most worried about in this entire process, because if this doesn't work, I'm probably gonna have failure when it comes to planning. Couple things getting this going. In a previous video with the S-tines, I was complaining about that sag a little bit. I did find with a little bit of elbow grease, I could get that in a little further into my UTV. So there's 2 holes for the pin. I was able to slide it back. That helps a little bit. Maybe you can see there's still a slight lean. Those 2 bolts back there, I've tightened them up as much as I can. It actually will not go any tighter, and it will not make that bar rigid, which is potentially how they designed it to be a little loose, but I'm not a big fan. Also, I can't get this any higher. So you can see here at the very highest position, little scuff marks, not a big deal for me. But what happens, and remember this is a black Boar cultivator on a 3-point kolpin, but still, is this here hits this bar. And as soon as it does that, it doesn't go any further. Or maybe if that's not even the case, that's just as far as the piston goes. So here's something, and I'll do this in a later video. Kolpin's instructions and websites and material have really been piss poor. I've been really underwhelmed with them. They don't have any recent YouTube videos, but I've got all these other slots, right? So there's a circle here that I could have done this. Now I followed the instructions explicitly, right? So I put them where they told me to put them, but you can see not only is there another pin here, but there's another pin here. So all those things could increase the height of this, but nowhere in the instructions, nowhere on their website does it say, hey, here's an option for this A, B, or C, why you might want to do this, why you might not want to, etc., etc. So I did what they told me to do in the instructions. I might mess around with that later. I've mentioned previously too, I've got, you know, these can be manually adjusted to give you another inch or two of lift. It's just enough for me to get this back here, but if I had to drive like over a road or something, I didn't want those to get all dinged on, I'd be a little bummed. One other lesson learned here before I see if I'm successful is I had to slide these over just a bit because this rubs right here. I don't think I'm doing any damage with it button up against it, but I could not physically slide this over and get this on until I adjusted. In fact, you can even see about an inch or two was the difference that I needed to bring this in so that I could get these on. These pivot really well, but I still couldn't get it on because this was hitting that U-bolt there. So it is a little overcast Friday. Turkey hunted this morning, no birds. That was a bit of a bummer, but I can definitely see next year this field with chicory and clover hopefully really helping to bring them in. Let's see, I sprayed last Saturday, so it's been 6 days. It's Friday today, so for the second time, if you've been following along, sprayed or mowed, sprayed, waited a week, S-tines, waited a week, sprayed again, and you can see, I mean, it is May 6th. I mean, the stark contrast of where I sprayed. So I am very happy with the sprayer's performance. I got a couple greenish passes, maybe partly my fault, maybe just what's growing there. But the other thing is the piles of hay, so I've got a rake with me if that's not going to till up nice. But really happy with that. I will do an update on the sprayer too, because two things broke already, the pressure gauge and one of the valves, but I'll talk about that in a separate video because that's not why you're watching this one. So get an update later. My cameraman isn't going to be able to film this in action because he wanted to go to the playground with his buddy, so apologize for that. So halftime update. I'm pretty happy. Look at that, right? It's probably the best spot, just before you get your hopes up too much. But where it's low, it does really well. Now, you're supposed to plant on flat terrain, and every farmer is probably chuckling about that, but we all know not everything in life is flat. There's a joke there, but anyhow, you can see as I go up, I don't know if you can tell this on the film or not, on the video, but as I go up in elevation, it misses spots. This is as low as it'll go. I've got a good 4 inches or more of penetration. It's a joke there too. You can see as it gets up on the higher spots, maybe not as well. The UTV's having no problems here. I haven't even bothered going into the mud yet. I'm nervous about that. I might even just skip it altogether. Negative so far, so I've been doing overlapping passes for this reason, and I don't know necessarily how to correct it, but the inside discs are just like, they're not flat or something, I don't know, but the outsides are just churning and crushing it. You can see even maybe right here, maybe not, it's probably hard to tell, but the inside ones, as I go through and do a pass, let me see if I can show you an example. I've been doing overlapping passes, so it's kind of difficult. You can see maybe, right, real good on the outside. Now there isn't a disc in the middle, so I understand if you're saying, oh duh, right, you're missing a disc in the middle, but those two middle ones don't seem to be doing nearly the effort. I've hit a bunch of decent sized rocks, nothing has broken yet. I haven't seen anything rattle free. These are caked up a little bit. I don't think that matters a whole lot because you're just trying to dig them into the ground. So far, again, pretty happy. Not a real lot of complaints. We'll see if I can somehow get some action footage for you. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Apologies if I cannot. Down, all the pressure of the 3-point, 200 plus pounds. Here I'm hitting stuff about 3 to 5 miles an hour. Turn. Probably what you wanted, right? That's what I wanted. Get some tunes, eating some snacks. Probably should have brought a beer with me. So, end of the third quarter, going into fourth quarter. We just did the north plot. I'm learning like you will with anything, but hopefully this video, because there's not a lot of these out here. I've seen a couple guys when I was doing probably what you're doing, using this with an ATV, and you know, going over a bunch of passes, things like that, which I will highly recommend as well. So, and it's probably obvious again to most of you, but if you're new to this, and that's the title of the series, you're maybe just not thinking. Obviously, the more I got to go over it, how many times we got to go over it, you know, I don't know. And what you can see here that's really prevalent in the north lot, the way I tilled this is just going around in circles, and to get these last couple strips, and you can see hopefully in the middle here where it's not as great, I had to go over and over the same spot. And I mean, this is almost exactly what I wanted. This may not quite be farm tractor John Deere. So anyhow, all that's left is this muddy area up here, and I'm going to kind of give that a once over, but not spend a ton of time on it. But I don't know much left to say here. Really happy with these overlapping passes here. It's clover. I think it'll go in well. This is held up pretty good. I've backed into some things, run over some stuff, and it's held up really well so far. So positive vibes, crossing my fingers, going into tomorrow where we're going to do some fertilizing and planting.